imagine having your dad taken away from you at the age of 21. Imagine not having him there for your college graduation, or for your wedding day, or maybe even the birth of his grandchildren. Now, you ask yourself, why wasn't he here for all of these important milestones in my life? The answer that you have tried to forget comes back to your mind. Heart disease. Now, let's fast forward a couple decades. You're sitting in the waiting office, you're sitting in your doctor's office, and you've just had a heart scan. As you're waiting for the results, you think to yourself, I'm a relatively healthy person. I exercise regularly. I'm pretty sure my heart's in good condition. Your doctor comes back in the room. And much to your surprise, he gives you some not so good news. You have just been diagnosed with heart disease. Emotions start to overwhelm your body. A feeling of shock comes over you as you realize this is the same disease that took your dad from you when you were 21. You ask your doctor, how did this happen? He tells you, you have a family history of heart disease. It's in your genes. Stop imagining. Now I want you all to remember this story, because it might come up later. For this story was a reality for Richard Stephen. Here's the question to ask. What could have prevented this from happening to Richard? The doctor said it was in his genes, right? Right. His genes and your genes are what I'm here to talk to you about today. Hi, my name is Allison, and today I'm going to teach you all about the APOE gene diet, also known as the perfect gene diet. The three main points I'm going to talk to you about is 1, the creator of the concept within the diet in her book, 2, what the APOE gene is and how it affects one's health, and 3, how to find your APOE. Now, if some of you are interested, you might want to pay attention to the next couple minutes of my speech, because it may change your life. Born and raised in Paisley, Scotland, Pamela MacDonald grew up in the southernmost part of England. She got her nursing degree from the Royal Hospital of St. Bartholomew's in London. In 1981, she followed Love to the United States. She followed him all the way to California. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Alone in the unfamiliar city of San Francisco, Pamela MacDonald worked at the UCSF Medical Center. Pamela currently lives just outside of San Francisco with her husband and 3 children. She works as a nurse practitioner with her own private practice named Penn Scott Medical. Located in Danville, Penn Scott Medical is the birthplace of the APOE gene diet, later known as the perfect gene diet. This book has changed the lives of over 8,500 of Pamela's patients. Some of you are probably wondering what these 4 letters mean. To put it as simply as possible, the APOE gene is a gene that controls the way your body receives and utilizes fat and cholesterol. Your APOE plays a key role in your body's internal environment. The gene influences your disposition of chronic illness. Now, for those of you who don't know what chronic illness is, it is a disease that is long-lasting or persistent. Some examples would be cancer, asthma, Alzheimer's disease, and diabetes. There are 3 variations of the APOE gene: APOE2, APOE3, and APOE4. APOE2 requires a high-fat diet, APOE3 a moderate fat diet, and APOE4 a low-fat diet. The most commonly found gene is the APOE3, which is found in 64% of the population. This gene is also known as the neutral gene. The high-fat genes and the low-fat genes, or the 2s and 3s, are known as the alternative genes. These genes come in pairs. Every person has 2 APOE genes, one from mom and one from dad. Each person in this room has one of these 6 pairs on the screen: APOE2, APO22, 23, 33, 42, 43, or 44. 11% of the population has one or more of the APOE2 gene, and 25% of the population has one or more of the APOE4 gene. Now, people with 2s and 4s process food differently than people with 3s. People with 2s and 4s, people with the APOE2 process fat faster than people with APOE3s and 4s. And people with APOE4s process fat slower, which means they need a lower fat diet. Let's say that Mitch's dad is a 3-3 and his mom is a 4-4. When Mitch was born, he gets one gene from his mom, a 4, and one gene from his dad, a 3. When these genes are put together, Mitch becomes a 4-3, which is what I am, which means we would both need a moderate to low-fat diet. By now, you're probably all wondering what your APOE is. There are 2 ways to find out. One is by a blood test, and the other is by a cheek swab test, which is where they take a Q-tip and take DNA from the inside of your mouth. Once one of these tests is done, the DNA gets sent to the lab, and 2 weeks later, you come back in to view your results. When you come in, you will choose a lifestyle plan. A lifestyle plan is a plan that individually fits your APOE. Once you start living your life by this plan, after a while it no longer seems like a diet, but more of a lifestyle, hence the term lifestyle plan. By following this diet, your risk of chronic illness is lowered, and it stays low as long as you continue to eat properly and exercise. Reducing this risk is what this diet is all about. Now, before I end my speech, I would like to tell you why I chose this topic. I didn't find out about the APOE on the internet or through a TV ad. I have been living my life by this diet for as long as I can remember. You could say that my mom is somewhat obsessed with it. I mean, I would be too if I made a living off this diet. Now, don't let our last names confuse you, but Pamela McDonald is my mom. Remember the story of Richard Stephen? His full name is Richard Stephen Cassidy, and he is my dad. He is the reason why my mom started the research for her book. He is a great example for how this diet can affect people. Because after living on this diet, his heart disease went away. Here is a picture of him before the diet, and here is a picture of him after. If my mom hadn't followed her love to California, and thankfully that didn't work out, my dad never would have. And if my dad had never gotten heart disease, my mom never would have started her private practice, and the diet would never have been created, and I would not have been raised to the person I am today. So the question that was asked was how could we have prevented this from happening to Richard? And the answer can be found from my mom, Pamela McDonald.